4,000 meters of ice. Beneath it, a lake. No one has ever seen it. Pressure at 350 atmospheres. Complete darkness. For 15 million years of isolation from the entire outside world. Scientists drilled through the ice. They took water samples. They found bacteria. Their DNA only matches 86% with any known species. Humans match chimpanzees by 98%. If that is true, then right beneath our feet, while we are searching for alien life on Mars, there is a completely alien world. Already there, long before us. The question is not whether there is life. The question is, who was here first? And that question leads us to a greater truth. Humans think they understand this planet. We have mapped every continent. Stepped foot on the moon. Decoded the human genome. But these lakes, the places that seem the simplest on the planet, are showing us that we are only just beginning. But these lakes are not just exotic locations. Each lake is a question. And those questions lead to the same place, reality stranger than anything we have ever imagined. Let us begin. 10. Lake Hillier, Australia. A streak of pink in the middle of a deep blue ocean. Not a pale pink, not a blended pink, but bubblegum pink, defying all logic regarding the color of water. From above, it looks as though someone poured an entire bucket of paint right into the middle of the green forest. How can a lake have this color? Scientists tried everything to recreate it in the laboratory. They failed. So what is happening at the bottom of the lake that even a laboratory cannot mimic? Most people think it is algae. Some other pink lakes in the world get their color from Dunaliella salina algae. But when scientists filtered all organisms out of Lake Hillier's water, the water remained pink. They tried everything. Culturing bacteria from the lake in the laboratory. The color could not be replicated. They analyzed the chemical composition. Found an unidentified compound. On the laboratory table, 2 vials of water. 1 vial of seawater, crystal clear. 1 vial of water from Lake Hillier, pink as lipstick. And the scientists said, "We have tried everything. It is only pink when it is in the lake." No one lives on Middle Island where the lake is located. But tourists from all over the world still come, standing on the shore, looking down at water that looks like a toxic chemical but is actually completely safe. There is something in humans that makes us curious about the unexplainable, even when it is just a color. And if something as simple as the color of water remains a mystery, then what have we truly explained? 9. Lake Kindy, Kazakhstan. Beneath the crystal clear frozen surface, a forest. Tree trunks rising from the bottom of the lake, their branches like skeletal fingers touching the surface of the ice from below. They are not lying on the bottom. They are still standing upright. How can a forest grow at the bottom of a lake? But here is the strange part. If cold water preserves trees, then why are the trees at the edge of the lake, where the water is warmer, still standing firm after 100 years? In 1911, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake triggered a massive landslide. The colossal mass of Earth blocked the river and the water began to rise. Below was a forest. The water rose so fast that the trees did not have time to die and rot. They were submerged while still alive. And then the strange thing happened. The water here is so cold it stays frozen year-round. The temperature never exceeds 6 degrees Celsius. Wood does not decompose in cold, oxygen-deprived water. More than 100 years later, those trees still retain their exact shape. Divers go down, flashlights cutting through water as clear as crystal. The entire forest emerges from the darkness, silent, frozen in time. No one knows exactly when these trees will finally collapse. And no one knows how many ghost lakes of this kind are hiding in the mountains of Central Asia, simply because no one has looked for them yet. The local Kazakhs call this the Lake of Dead Trees. They stay away from it. But divers from all over the world still come to experience something found nowhere else, diving through a forest that died before the automobile was invented. Earth has a strange way of preserving the past. Not in fossils, not in textbooks, but in places humans would never think to look. 8. Lake Jackson, USA. An ordinary lake in Florida. Then one day, right in the middle of the lake, a whirlpool forms. Water swirls down a hole at the bottom of the lake. In a matter of days, the entire lake disappears. No more water. Only dry mud, dead fish, and a deep, plunging hole. A man loses his boat. It gets sucked down the hole. For 6 months later, the boat appears in a pond 3 kilometers away. They still do not know how it made it through the underground caves without breaking apart. That drainage hole 15 meters wide is a skylight into a massive cave system. The entire area sits on karst limestone, where water has eroded the stone into cave systems over millions of years. When water pressure inside the cave drops low enough, the ground forming the cave ceiling collapses. The lake drains into the cave, flows through the underground system, and then emerges at a spring kilometers away. But no one can predict when the hole will open again. Lake Jackson has disappeared 4 times in the last 100 years: 1907, 1909, 1932, 1999. There is no cycle. There is no warning. One day you wake up and the lake is gone. Footage from 1999. A photographer stands inside the dry lake bed, looking up at the shoreline where water used to submerge everything. He stands next to the hole. The sound of water roaring from deep underground. Residents around the lake recall, "I don't know where it goes." Or it just disappears. You think you know where you live. But beneath your feet could be massive caves, underground rivers, worlds you have never seen. And sometimes those worlds open up and swallow your lake. Number 7. Lake Crnica, Slovenia. For a dry valley, lush green meadows. For a farmer is cutting grass for his cows. For a month later, the exact same frame, a lake 25 square kilometers wide. Boats are rowing over the very meadow from last year. How can a lake appear and disappear on a schedule? This is not seasonal flooding. Flooding does not create a lake 10 meters deep, 25 square kilometers wide, complete with fish, shrimp, and an entire ecosystem, only to vanish completely 6 months later. Lake Serknica sits on one of the most complex karst cave systems in the world. There are over 300 drainage holes at the bottom of the lake, each hole capable of both sucking water in and spouting water out depending on the groundwater level. In winter, the groundwater rises. The holes spout water up, creating the lake. In summer, the groundwater recedes. The holes suck the water down. The lake disappears within 2 weeks. Scientists drop dye down one hole. It appeared 20 kilometers away. But with some other holes, the dye never appeared anywhere. Trout appear out of nowhere every time the lake fills up. It turns out they live inside the caves, waiting for the water to rise. They swim out, eat, reproduce, and then as the water recedes, they swim back into the caves, waiting for the next season. Slovians have lived with this ghost lake for 500 years. They have specific names for each phase: Sushika, the dry lake; Barach, the full lake. They fish on their meadows. Their children grow up with the question, this season, will we row a boat or mow the grass? Sometimes the miracle is not something that rarely happens. It is something that happens regularly, yet remains magical every single time. Number 6. Lake Natron, Tanzania. A dead pigeon, but it is not decomposing. It is perfectly preserved, hard as stone, covered in a pure white crust, its wings spread wide as if in mid-flight. But it fossilized right on the spot. Lake Natron has a pH of up to 10.5, more alkaline than ammonia. The water temperature can reach 60 degrees Celsius. The water contains sodium carbonate and other minerals, the exact same ingredients ancient Egyptians used for mummification. When animals die in the lake, the alkaline water and minerals calcify the tissue. They replace organic matter with calcium carbonate, the same mineral that forms seashells and limestone. This process occurs before decomposing bacteria have a chance to act. The result: perfect animal statues. Birds, bats, fish, frozen in their final posture. Photographer Nick Brandt found these statues and photographed them, placing them in lifelike positions, a bird in flight, a bat hanging. But they are not statues. They are real corpses turned to stone. No one knows exactly how long it takes for a bird to become stone. Scientists estimate weeks to months, but no one dares to conduct an experiment to find out. The Maasai people live near the lake. They call it the place where the water kills. They never drink water from the lake, never let their livestock drink it. But they also revere it because the lake is the only breeding ground for the lesser flamingo. Millions of flamingos nest on the salt islands in the middle of the lake, a safe place because nothing else can survive. Death and life share the same space. The lake kills almost everything, but it also protects the flamingos from predators. Without Lake Natron, there are no flamingos. Without death, there is no life. Number 5. Lake Pager, USA. November 20th, 1980. An oil rig is drilling on Lake Peigneur, Louisiana. Suddenly, it shakes. The rig begins to sink. Not slowly. It disappears into the ground within 3 hours, dragging down 11 barges, a parking lot, and all the surrounding trees. For a drilling rig weighing thousands of tons. How on earth does it sink on inland waters? Engineers check the maps. No mining shafts. No large caves. Nothing explains it. But the rig keeps sinking. It turns out beneath Lake Peigneur is a massive salt mine currently being exploited. The drilling crew did not know that. The drill bit pierced through the ceiling of the salt mine, missing by just 30 centimeters, opening a channel between the lake and the mine. The lake water rushed down into the dry salt mine with terrifying pressure. The water dissolved the salt, widening the tunnel, creating a massive whirlpool. The whirlpool was so powerful it reversed the flow of the canal connecting the lake to the ocean. Salt water from the Gulf poured in, creating a 50-meter waterfall in the opposite direction. A barge was dragged down by the whirlpool. It spun, tilted, and then plunged down the hole like a toy when a bathtub plug is pulled.
The mine is flooding.
The only man on the barge jumped into the water and managed to swim to shore while his barge disappeared, never to return. No one died. A miracle. But the damage, 11 barges, a drilling rig, a parking lot, trees, and the entire freshwater ecosystem of the lake, gone. Lake Peigneur is now a saltwater lake, 60 meters deep, 20 times deeper than before. And beneath the lake bed, inside the flooded mine, the drilling rig is still there. A monument to human arrogance. Sometimes the biggest mistake is not a miscalculation. It is failing to consider the possibility that you could be wrong. A tiny hole is enough to submerge everything you built. 4. Lake in Anjikuni, Canada. A black and white photograph, an empty village. Tents left open. Canoes left on the shore. Pots of food still on the fire, but the fire died out long ago. No people. No signs of departure. They just disappeared. The entire village vanished, and the lake faded from view along with them. In November 1930, journalist Joe Labella reported the entire Inuit village at Anjikuni had vanished. Around 30 to 40 people. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigated. They found food left untouched, rifles left on racks, clothing still hanging to dry. 7 sled dogs were found starved to death, still chained to tree stumps 2 kilometers from the village. Ancestral graves were dug up. Sacred stones were moved, but there was no trace of human footsteps. The RCMP concluded migration, but they could not explain why. Later historians suggested famine or disease might be the cause. But no one found bones. No one found graves. No one found anything. Lake Anjikuni faded from prominence along with the village. Not that the water disappeared, but reports from 1930 noted that the lake no longer seemed the same. Scientists later suggested that melting ice might have altered the lake's shape. But the biggest question remains unanswered. Where did the people go? Interview with an elderly Inuit from the neighboring area. We don't talk about that place. The elders before me said there are things in the woods we shouldn't look for. That village looked for them. A long silence. That is why they disappeared. This story is not about the truth, because the truth may never be known. This story is about humanity's most fundamental fear, that one day you wake up and everything you know is gone. Your family, your neighbors, your home, the lake, everything. And no one can explain why. There are mysteries that science may never solve. And sometimes the most terrifying answer is, there is no answer. Number 3. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. A peaceful landscape, a blue lake, surrounding villages, children playing. Cut scene, the same village, but silent. Corpses lying on the ground. For no wounds. For no blood. They just died. In positions as if sleeping, or walking, or cooking. For 1,746 people. With thousands of livestock. All dead in the exact same night. For August 21, 1986. Lake Nyos. For a lake that killed nearly 2,000 people in a single night. How? Survivors recounted. They smelled gunpowder or rotten eggs and then passed out. One person woke up 24 hours later, finding her husband and children dead beside her. The lake remained peaceful. Deep blue. Scientists arrived 2 weeks later. They measured the CO2 concentration in the lake water, higher than anything ever recorded. Imagine a can of soda being shaken. When you open the cap, gas rushes out violently. Lake Nyos was exactly like that soda can, but the size of 200 Olympic swimming pools. On that fateful night, something, perhaps a small landslide or heavy rain, disturbed the water. 1,200,000 tons of CO2 escaped within a few hours. CO2 gas is denser than air. It formed an invisible tsunami 50 meters high, rolling down the valley at 50 kilometers an hour. Anyone inside the CO2 cloud suffocated within 2 to 3 minutes. A survivor recalls, "I woke up, it was already daylight. I called my husband. No answer. I stepped outside. Neighbors were lying on the ground. I ran to my mother's house. She was lying in bed, holding a picture of my father. She looked like she was sleeping. But she was already cold." Silence. I was the only one in the village left alive. No one knows the exact trigger. And more terrifyingly, Lake Nyos is accumulating CO2 again. The lake could reoccur at any time. The Cameroonian government has relocated 4,000 people from the area. But many return because it is their home. They live next to a lake that can kill them at any moment. They call it the Lake of the Evil Spirit. But they still stay. Because besides the fear of death, there is the fear of losing everything one knows. The greatest danger is not something you can see, hear, or smell. The greatest danger is something you cannot perceive until it kills you. This planet is filled with time bombs, and we do not know where most of them are located. 2. Lake Baikal, Russia. The ice surface is so transparent that you can see the bottom of the lake at a depth of 40 meters. Beneath the ice, massive circles ranging from 5 to 10 kilometers in diameter appear. So perfect they look as if drawn with a compass. No one knows where they come from. Lake Baikal, the oldest lake in the world, the deepest lake in the world, 1,642 meters, 25 to 30 million years old, so ancient it witnessed human evolution from apes. Baikal contains 20% of the entire planet's unfrozen freshwater. But Baikal is not just a lake. It is a rift opening up. The same tectonic process that is tearing Africa in two. Baikal is becoming a new ocean, very slowly. 2 centimeters each year. In another 50 to 100 million years, if humans still exist, Baikal will be a sea. Then an ocean. Scientists drilled into the sediment at the bottom of Baikal. They found 10-million-year-old bacteria still alive, buried under 3 kilometers of mud, with no light, no oxygen, no nutrients. They are still alive. How? No one knows. Underwater, a professional diver swims past creatures found nowhere else on Earth. The transparent Baikal fish, the Golomianka, lives at a depth of 1 kilometer, has no scales, no swim bladder, and its body is entirely filled with oil to withstand the pressure. When brought to the surface, their bodies melt into oil and bones within minutes. The Buryat people have lived around Baikal for 3,000 years. They call Baikal the sacred sea. They believe a dragon lives at the bottom of the lake, and when it stirs, the lake whips up waves even when the weather is calm. Scientists have recorded freak waves on Baikal unrelated to the weather. They have no explanation. We look at a lake and think, I know what it is. But Baikal shows us that we know nothing at all. It is an ocean waiting to be born. It is a 50-million-year library of history. It is a vessel for bizarre creatures that Darwin never imagined. And it is expanding. Very slowly but surely. For one day, Baikal will swallow Siberia. And everything we have built will be just a thin layer of sediment at the bottom of a new ocean. 1. Lake Vostok, Antarctica. 4,000 meters of ice. Beneath it, a lake. No one has seen it. No one has touched it. It has been buried in complete darkness, under 350 atmospheres of pressure for 15 million years. Lake Vostok. It's 250 kilometers long, or 50 kilometers wide. One of the largest lakes in the world, completely hidden beneath the frozen continent. Russian scientists drilled through 4 kilometers of ice over 20 years to reach it. They had to stop when they were 100 meters away, fearing they would contaminate the lake with drilling fluid, a mixture of kerosene and freon. In 2012, they finally broke through. The lake, water rushed up the borehole and froze instantly. They had a sample. They analyzed it. They found bacteria, but not ordinary bacteria. Their DNA only matches 86% with any known species. Humans match chimpanzees by 98%. This difference is vastly greater. These are not known bacteria. This could be a completely separate line of life, evolving in the dark, under crushing pressure, with no sunlight, with no contact with the outside world for 15 million years. A Russian scientist, upon seeing the first DNA results, said, "If this is true, we have just found alien life, and it has been right beneath our feet the entire time." Silence. The question now is, who lived here first, them or us? Scientists are still debating whether it is truly bacteria from the lake or just contamination from the drilling fluid. They need cleaner samples. But to get clean samples, they need technology that does not yet exist. And time is running out. If they do not act quickly, the ice will close, and they will have to drill again from the beginning. We have sent spacecraft to Mars to look for life. We have spent billions of dollars searching for extraterrestrial life. Meanwhile, beneath the Antarctic ice, in complete darkness, there may be a completely alien world, and it was already there before humans learned to walk. Our arrogance, looking far away, while the most miraculous thing might be lying right under our feet. Lake Vostok is the ultimate reminder of human limitations. We cannot see it. We cannot touch it without destroying it. We cannot be certain about anything regarding it. But it is there, and it is waiting. just like thousands of other secrets of this planet. We're waiting for us to be humble enough to acknowledge that we do not know. Lake Vostok has lain beneath the Antarctic ice for 15 million years. Before humanity appeared. Before dinosaurs went extinct. Before the Himalayas were formed. It was there, in the dark, cold, under pressure, 350 times greater than the surface, while continents drifted, while oceans were born and vanished, while the entire history of mankind was just a brief moment. And in that darkness, there may be life evolving along a completely different path. If we find life there, it will not come from Mars. It will come from beneath our feet. And if life can evolve independently in two places on the same planet, then the probability of life existing elsewhere in the universe is almost a certainty. That means we are not alone. We just haven't met the neighbors yet. But there is something else. All of these lakes, from the pink lake that defies explanation, to the lake that turns animals to stone, to the lake that kills people with an invisible breath, they are telling us the exact same thing. Humans think they understand this planet. We have mapped it, named it, classified it, formulated it, but each of these lakes is a gap in our knowledge. Each lake is a reminder that the world still holds things that make us stop, open our eyes wide, and simply whisper, "How can this be real?" And that is the most wonderful thing. Because a world where you know everything is a world that no longer has wonder. And wonder, the sense of awe upon realizing how small we are amidst the vast universe, is the only thing that makes life worth living. The next time you look at any lake, whether a small pond behind your house or a major lake on a map, remember, you do not know what is at the bottom of the lake. You do not know if it will still be there tomorrow. You do not know if it is accumulating something that could kill you. And that truly is wonderful. This planet is still full of secrets. Keep searching.